Awake, I've had my cereal. I have Juniper on my lap. And I have a very special flavor of Monster today that I have yet to try. That's backwards. That's backwards on stream. Hold on. No, June, you can't have this. It's backwards. Ultra Rosa. I didn't plan this, but this is the only flavor I have in my fridge that I haven't actually tried yet, so awful fitting, isn't it? Hold on, I have to exercise Pat. Alright. But anyway, I will get started and I will try this. The only thing with Monster is they don't actually say what it tastes like on the can. They just leave you to guess, or more realistically to just to Google it. To Google it. Let's see. I don't know what flavor that is. It's pretty good though. It's pretty good. That's probably one of the best flavors I've had actually. I'm not sure if it's going to replace the white Monster for me, but just off one sip, and you know, one sip is only one sip. Opinion can change a lot over drinking a whole can. That might be a good contender for second place. I'm not sure. Alright. So yesterday we finished, at least momentarily, from what I understand, the big goats invade the island fight. And then you see, we'll set it up so that among the work centered in Company X's Mystery Novel contest, yet another one of the great Hachijo's works will appear under a false name. Of course, we'll then move on with a movie version and a TV drama bundled in. We here at Company X will be honored to accept your manuscript. And am I getting prize money out of this? But of course. The 10 million yen prize for Company X's first mystery novel contest will all go to you. And much more besides. Splendid. You've caught my interest. That's why I've decided not to write up a manuscript for you. What? But Madam Hachijo, why? Everything had seemed to be going so smoothly up until then, so this sudden refusal made the people from the publishing company fall over in their sofa. This little scheme of yours is far more interesting than the manuscript I wrote. In that case, it wouldn't be fitting to hand it over to you. It was always a worthless story. I wanted to lure my ignorant readers into lauding it, making them feel as though they'd performed some magnificent reasoning. I was hoping that you children of man would recognize the irony and laugh at your own mistake, but it looks like you've taken it seriously. Yes, I can say I'm ashamed at my own failure as a writer. Of course not. Please forgive us. Please let us use your... I have no need for money, but some pet food would be nice. Pet food? Oh, for you, a cat. There was a rumor that you had a cat who liked dried plums. Yes, as you wish. Quickly, let's have a high-quality assortment of dried plums brought in here. She only eats the ones that are packaged separately, at 200 yen apiece. At this rate, she'll die of high blood pressure. She snacks on kimchi and spicy miso all the time, too. Really, there must be something wrong with that cat's tongue. Meep. The cat meowed an objection from where it lay on top of the bookshelf. I cannot give you this manuscript, but why don't I write up a new one for your company's contest? However, I won't write it under my name. It's estimated that thousands of manuscripts will be sent into your contest. If you manage to pick mine out from the pack, and if you also find it deserving of the prize, then I would be happy to continue our discussion just now. How does that sound? Yeah, nowadays, they just have AI judge the contest, and it would go horribly. Here, it's not so easy to get a job nowadays. Hahaha, just the honor of receiving your manuscript is more than enough. You people truly are amusing, fawning and cringing all the time. But I've grown weary of this for today. Leave now. Meeting with children and men can be so tiring. Haha, we're deeply grateful for your kindness in allowing us this meeting. Junie's very cozy. A servant guided the people from the publishing company to the door. In the study that was now finally quiet, Hachijo Toyo let out a sigh, slumped down on the sofa, and gazed at the ceiling. It is tiring, but the stimulation of talking with a child of man isn't such a bad thing in small doses. It's good for you to talk to people every now and again. You'll go senile if you stay shut in all the time. Okay, yeah, that probably was, Brink still talking. The black cat leapt from the bookshelf and landed softly on the carpet. Then its form silently twisted and became that of Bruncastel. Indeed, they certainly can be entertaining. Inviting them over now and then may go a long way towards alleviating my boredom. At any rate, I think I will write that manuscript when I feel like it. It sounds like they'll even bring a gift for you. What's all this about pet food? How rude. Well, that's what it is. Here. Hachijo picked up a jar from a shelf, then took a dried plum out and threw it into the air. In an instant, Brinkastel turned back into a black cat, caught it in midair, and started munching away. Madam Hachijo, your guests have departed. A servant knocked on the door before making this announcement. Thank you. Let me know if that one wakes up. As you wish. Would you like some tea? No. I'm going to write for a bit. Please do not disturb me. Yes, ma'am. Someone waking up, huh? Something to pay attention to. I haven't really been able to say that for a while, but don't forget that she said that. After waiting for the servant's footsteps to disappear into the distance, Hachizo moved to her desk. The desk certainly looked as though it belonged to a great writer, with pages of manuscript scattered across it. Even though the century's almost over, you still write with a pen? I mean, I say a typewriter right there. The black cat spoke as it tore the dried plum apart with its mouth. Tales are to be written with ink. I agree. To me, that is an unbreakable rule. So you write it once with ink, then type the whole thing over again with a keyboard. Pretty stupid. Hiccups. Pretty stupid doing the same thing twice. In that case, why does a child of man drop a tale in their mind and spit the whole thing out again on a keyboard? How foolish of them to do the same thing twice. Look at it that way and you're doing the same thing 3 times. That was a good one. Even as Hachijo laughed, her fountain pen was already sliding across the page. Beautiful letters appeared almost as fast and proficiently as a typewriter. Only humans call their creations manuscripts. With her fountain pen and writing paper, she was creating a world. As she did, the hands of the clock would spin around like a top. The light and shadows that came in through the window changed their angles so fast they might have been the hands of the clock themselves. Slowly, she drew a large X across the tightly packed words on the paper. Having trouble? I can't draw it out well. Writing manuscript to please people is truly a pain. After all, I don't usually write for other people to read. You should try writing down whatever it is you're saying on that manuscript paper. Friend Castell curled up on the sofa, a mocking smile on her face. Normally, whenever Hachijo was writing, Bryn Castell would never let herself be noticed, much less talk to her. However, Bryn Castell realized that the other was apparently getting bored with her manuscript, so she yawned and started talking. What is it you're writing, anyway? A tale to give to a child of man. Which child of man? It's a tale I promised to write for Miko, who once read for me. Ah, you're still writing that? Hey. No, we're not doing this again today. Get out of there. Come on. No, going behind the monitor. I can't think of anything to write that would give her satisfaction. Looks like I was giving up yet again. You always promised to write a story, then get stuck before you're finished and give up. If I'd given up, I wouldn't be worrying over it like this. There's only one tale that Angie's wanted from the beginning. The tale of the single truth. Angie said she wanted to know what happened that day. No matter how many tales you write distorting the truth, she'll never be satisfied. And yet, I do think my tales are far more interesting than the single truth. Angie doesn't want to read an interesting tale. I promised that child of man that I would write a tale for her sake. So, I'm writing a tale to please her. No matter how interesting or uninteresting it is, everything you write is an illusion. Angie doesn't want any of that. Haven't you figured that out yet? The Book of the Single Truth was written by Ushinomiya Eva. Hidden amongst the pile of writing paper was Eva's diary. Furthermore, the one who wrote this passed away without revealing it to anyone. Being the humble writer that I am, I would like to respect that. Don't make me laugh. Is this coming from the person who entertains herself by taking a tale and tearing out its guts? Hold on, I need chapstick badly. My lips are like solid rock. Really gotta get those checked out. Whoa. Trying to keep Junie happy as I adjust here. The truth is uninteresting. Is that your opinion after tearing apart the guts of so many tales? So don't forget, last time we ended off, Angie was about to fight Beatrice for the book, basically. Then they just kind of had an argument, and it stopped in the middle of the scene. And now we're here. You might as well say that. With a self-mocking laugh, Hachijo set down her fountain pen. I certainly have aged. The first thing age taught me was that not knowing is more precious than knowing. That definitely sounds like something an old person would say, but I'll bite. What do you mean? Oh, she's had enough. Okay. Knowing and not knowing. These two things have a one-way relationship. True. It's possible to switch from not knowing to knowing, but you can't do it the other way around. You're forgetting about dementia. When I realized that, I saw the noble purity resembling rigidity that exists in not knowing. In my attempts to escape boredom, I've torn apart and eaten the guts of as many games and tales as there are stars in the sky. But always, my relief from boredom is short-lived. It's all so fleeting that I've started to ignore each tale as an individual story. That's right. If you eat a cat, then you only get to enjoy it for one night. But if you let it live, it might start calling you names and getting sarcastic. Indeed. Even the annoying way they break into your sweets cupboard or sneak into your bed can be part of their charm. Hachijo looked around at the books covering every square inch of the room, then softly petted the cat's back. I might have been able to enjoy a single tale much longer and much more deeply. As I've eaten my way through countless tales to escape boredom, I haven't really been eating them. I've just been killing them. And in the end, they'll kill me back. Hachijo laughed with self-derision. Even in Beato's game, you try to tear the guts out. I just wanted to check my answers. I did try to do it in a way that respected Beatrice, the weaver of this tale. No, you can't go down there, honey. Yeah, I think it was pretty well read, all done so that people who didn't understand wouldn't figure it out. Will it make for a better tale if Angie learns the truth, or if she doesn't? To be honest, I don't know anymore. So, fully aware that you'll scorn me for it, I've decided to stop writing the rest of this tale. Come on, honey. No. No. Can't go back there. What do you mean? I won't write it. I will merely record it. The tale that Ushinome Angie weaves herself. No. No. Need it. Stop. So, you're going to do that sort of thing again? After growing tired of 1,000 years of life, I've decided that choosing not to know the truth is the more noble path. However, I see now that it isn't fair to force my opinion on Angie, who hasn't lived even 100 years. I'm just downing my Rosa. The second sip wasn't quite as good as the first, as is often the case. So you're going to leave it in Angie's care? Yes. I will silently record it as it plays out. Hey, okay. That's enough. She like bumped my second monitor. She's gonna knock the thing over someday. None of that. If you're leaving it to Angie, then the rest of this tale is pretty much set in stone, right? So it would seem. Let it be so. After all, in the end, a tale that a child of man weaves for herself will be more fun than any story I could create. Well, I do want to check one thing again. I'm just seeing exactly where I am here. And exactly where a specific scene I'm thinking of later comes up. Not for a while. Yeah, it's gonna be a while. Good. Okay. I thought as much. Yep, okay. It's not for quite a ways off, thankfully. Okay. In that case, why don't you lend a hand in Angie's tale? You've already given yourself a role in it, haven't you? So is it my role to bring this tale to its conclusion? Get the angle right. Enough. Come on, that's no way for someone in Beato's game to talk. It's your job to tear the guts out of the cat box. Hachijo chuckled, pushed aside the pile of writing paper, and picked up the Book of the Single Truth. Then she opened the locked drawer. That is what Angie desires. Perhaps this book's seal is fated to be broken. Angie will reach the single truth will break the seal in the cat box, and everything will then be exposed to the light of day. And so, all of those countless message bottles and fragments made up of delightful imaginings, which have been scattered across the ocean of the internet, will fade away like foam on the sea. After all, even that person has surely tired of such fragments. It's about time for that kid's journey to end too. Yes, let us accept this task. As our role demands, let's give this journey an end of the line. You can't go back there. Go on. The instant someone knocked on the door, Brinkastel turned back into a black cat. Madam Hachijo, please forgive me for interrupting. It was the voice of Hachijo's servant. What is it? No. Yeah. If it's a phone call, tell them I'm busy. It isn't that. Toya-sama has woken up. Thank you. Prepare a light meal. Enough for the two of us. As you wish. Hachijo stood up. Then she shut the open drawer and locked it again. Jeez. Inside that drawer lay a glittering golden key. I feel like that music started a bit too early. Repeat it. The definition of a closed room prevents all varieties of entering and exiting. I refuse. By definition, it's impossible for a closed room murder to take place inside a perfect closed room. The chain might have been repaired after it was destroyed. The door might have been repaired after it was destroyed. The wall might have been repaired after it was destroyed. I have heard the funny theory that one of the closed room solutions could have been they just remove the door off its hinges, do the murder, put the door back on to bypass the lock. Which is clever, but also on the level of small bombs. My closed room doesn't involve anything being repaired. Good. This really is getting fun, Battler-san. Sorry, but I don't have time to play with you right now. I'm sorry too, but as a fellow Witch of Truth, I can't let you get in Angie's way. Gonna think of it, you're a Witch of Truth too, aren't you? I guess that makes you a sort of mentor to Angie. The single truth. It is the supreme, the ultimate. Only a Witch of Truth can break down all barriers that stand between her and that truth. Is this single truth of yours really so important? There are lots of things in this world that aren't worth knowing. How important is 1986 to Angie really? It isn't important at all. Ask her that maybe. You'd have a hard time convincing her. You're probably right. No matter what happened or didn't happen in 1986, it won't change anything for the Angie living in 1998. There's no point in learning that truth. However, there is just one thing that will change. What's that? How she lives. Erica transformed her reasoning into a scythe's blade and lashed out at Battler over and over. Battler also created a blade from his reasoning and attacked Erica over and over. In the middle of all this, he questioned Erica, the girl who, like Angie, called herself a Witch of Truth. Just what is the point of exposing the truth? You're right. Knowing often changes how a person lives their life. In that case, I have one hope as her blood relative. I hope that, at the end of my game, Angie finds a better way to live her life. Knowing may change how people live, but not always in a good direction. There are plenty of things in this world that you'd be more comfortable not knowing. The number of ticks living in the seats on a train, those urban legends about nasty stuff in the tap water. The world's full of things you'd be better off not knowing. Is that a thing over there? Ticks being in train seats? That's very concerning. The Book of the Single Truth probably can teach Angie what happened on this island. But what's the point of her knowing that? It'll just increase the sadness she's felt for 12 years. How many more years will it take for her to find happiness as an ordinary girl? How many years will it take for her wounds to be healed? Angie's desire to find the truth is hurting her. Regardless of what the truth actually is. Though her deep wounds were slow to heal, they did begin to do so during those 12 years. However, Angie kept picking at the scabs. In her search for the truth, she tore at those wounds herself, opening them up once more. And then twice more. Wouldn't stop. It's time for Angie to be free of the sadness of 1986. That's what all of us Ushinbeias pray for. Who cares about that? The truth is everything. The truth is justice. It's a disease everyone gets at least once, usually in middle school. They just love to find out all those things adults are hiding. But don't you think it's fun to expose things like that? Yeah, totally. Reading dirty books wouldn't be nearly so fun if you didn't have to do it in secret. They could be good friends, I guess. I deny all of your blue edges with a red truth. None of the methods you suggest could defeat my closed room. Angie was breathing heavily. The book of the single truth was right before her eyes. If she could just defeat Beato, she'd be able to take the book to Bernkastel, and then she could read what was inside. Even though the truth of the final family conference on October 4th and 5th of 1986 was right there, the Golden Witch stood in her way. Her anger and hatred spun around inside her head, wiping out the composure necessary to theory-making. Angie shook her head several times, clearing away everything that got in the way of calming her mind. However, no matter how many times she thought it through, the closed room sealing her in the chapel was perfect. Angie wasn't particularly familiar with the mystery genre. However, she knew all about the fragments. Containing Beato's games so far. Her knowledge was shallow, but it should still have been enough to give her a good foothold. However, no matter how many blue truths she said at Beato, none of them even made the witch flinch. Beato just blew them apart with a red truth and an elegant wave of her pipe. It's about time you gave up. I don't even view this as a game between the two of us. Are you implying that I could never solve this puzzle? I'm just buying time until Balor finishes dealing with Erica. He's the only one who can bring you to your senses. Bring me to my senses? You're the ones making me do this by hiding the single truth. That's why I'm fighting you. This is my right. As the final member of the Ishida family, I have a right to know the truth. Indeed, and that is the purpose of this final game. That's right. Without this final game, I wouldn't have been given a chance to reach the truth. At least for that one thing, I'm grateful. But as for what happened in 1986, as for who took your relatives and your family away from you, as a human, your desire to know the truth is quite natural. However, even knowing this, Balor decided that it would be best if you didn't return to 1986. I know what Oni-chan's trying to say. He's telling me to look to the future and live instead of being stuck in the past, right? Correct. Balor wanted to use this final game to show you that. In that case, there's no need to keep waiting for my answer. The answer is no, Golden Witch. I died back in 1986. I've wandered about like a ghost for 12 years since then. And when Aunt Ava died, I lost my only reason to stick around on this earth as a ghost. That's why I decided to do one last thing before ending my life. And that thing is learning the truth of 1986? Yeah, got a problem with that? Of course I do, you foolish girl. So if you do reach the truth, you'll die. In that case, I can't let you have it. I must trick you and blind you as much as I can, to keep you alive. Battler wants you to live. Living without truth is no better than dying. I'm trying to find the truth so I can live. You just admitted that you were searching for the truth so you could die. Yeah, that's right. And let me rephrase that. I'm trying to find the truth so I can die. I offered my life when I made my contract with Bernkastel, also I could learn what happened that day. That single truth will be the souvenir I take with me to hell. It's sherbet. It's useless. You cannot break this closed room. This closed room is perfect. And yet, I will kill you in this closed room. Oh, I know exactly what she's, I know what the answer is. It's the bombs. She tried every theory, idea, and every bit of nonsense she could think of. However, none of it had any effect on Beato. Powerless and frustrated, with the book of the single truth right before her eyes, Angie bit her lower lip. At first, this was supposed to be a game in which you were given a key that would let you decide your future. Liar. You wanted to hide the truth in this chapel, then make me choose a door that leads to some optimistic future. That's not a choice, you're trying to decide for me. Parents have the right to prevent their children from making unsuitable choices. I'm not a kid. I'm an 18-year-old woman who can think and act for herself. Fool. You're just a 6-year-old girl who can't think of anything except the past. And whose fault is that? Because of you. I've been stuck as a 6-year-old all this time. Now it's time for me to tear apart your illusion covering the truth. Yes, now that I think about it, it's not this chapel that you've locked me inside. Since that died in 1986, for all these years, you've had me locked away in a closed room where I'm all alone, and where no one will tell me the truth. And now, I'll tear your closed room apart with my own hands. Yeah, it's useless. It's all useless. I know the trick to your perfect closed room. Repeat it. You murdered me immediately after shutting me into this closed room. Oh, I guess maybe it's not the bombs. I don't know. I refuse. Of course. You've been killing me for 18 years. Thanks, Beatrice. If you hadn't reminded me, I wouldn't have figured out the trick. Angie, you are young and you have a long future ahead of you. In fact, you are the Golden Witch who lives in the future, are you not? Then live in the future. Live on in the future. Just how much are past truths really worth? Don't they pale in comparison to the truth of the future, the truth you'll create yourself? My life is trash. My whole family died, leaving just me behind. That's why I'm going back to them once I've got my single truth. If you learn the truth, you'll just have to accept your family's deaths. Haven't you ever thought about living on, hoping that by some miracle one of them might have survived? And that someday you might get a chance to see them again? I'm not worried about that. Even the Witch of Miracles couldn't find a fragment like that. In the Great Archangel explosion, almost none of the family's remains were recovered. Some days, I hoped that this might be a sign that they'd escaped the explosion and survived. That hope gave me the strength to live on. However, that hope wasn't strong enough to support me for 12 long years. It'd be very strange for them to survive and go missing on an island. So, even though I wanted to know the truth, I unconsciously averted my eyes. I felt that learning of my family's deaths for certain would force me to deny any possibility of someone miraculously surviving. But I'm tired of living on and on, nothing but that impossible hope of a miracle to keep me going. That's why I decided to accept my family's deaths. I decided to accept the truth, no matter what it is. That's why I became a Witch of Truth. How foolish to be blinded by the truth of the past and unable to see one's own future. Forgive me, Battler. I was not strong enough to guide your sister properly. She's a tough one to guide. A blazing blue wedge appeared in Angie's hand. It was long, thick, and shaped like a spear. And I have cat hair in my nose. This is the end, Witch of 1986. This closed room is perfect. Therefore, I can't get out and you can't lay a finger on me from the outside. However, you locked me into this room, so we can say you killed me with a simple trick. You shut me in this perfect closed room and made me starve to death. Since you intentionally did this, it's totally fair to say, this is a closed room murder with you as the killer. It looks like being overly vague with the cause of death backfired on you. So long, Witch of Illusions. See you in hell. I think that's pretty cool. Funny trick that couldn't be used during the main story, really. With a stained glass window behind her, Beato spread her arms and let the spear of the blue truth pierce her. The blue spear seemed to crucify Beato against the window. Game set. So this is Anteva's diary, the book of the single truth. Angie picked the book up from where it lay on the altar, sealed in crystal. If you read that, then by your contract with Bernkastel, you will die. Wanting the truth just to die? Ridiculous. That's right. I'm looking for the truth so I can die. At least let me choose how I go. I'm not an idiot. I know the real me is still floating around in that starry sky. Not floating around, just floating. Bernkastel acknowledged me as the final Beatrice, and invited me on a journey to learn the truth of 1986. I won't be able to return here again. When Bernkastel told me that and walked off the roof, into the black sky, because Bernkastel walked off, okay. I followed her into the empty air. That was the contract. I wanted two things from Bernkastel. One was for someone from my family to come back. The other was revenge. I wanted to destroy the illusion of the witch that hid the events of that day. I wanted to reach the truth. However, the first of my wishes couldn't come true. After all, even the Witch of Miracles couldn't find a fragment where my family came home. So she wordlessly questioned me. She told me that I couldn't reach the truth unless I had the courage to end this worthless life, where I lived like a ghost, hoping someone might come back. So she walked out into the open air, and I followed her. Yes, now I can understand. When I offered to trade away my life, I made one wish and gave up on another. I wished for revenge against the illusion of hiding the truth. And now I was succeeded in that revenge, defeating the master of that illusion and obtaining the book of the single truth. What I gave up was my naivety, my continuing belief that someone from my family might come back. And now, I could accept that my entire family is dead. Can you make someone alive just because no one knows any different? These cat boxes you talk about are just naive delusions. The idea that a corpse can live as long as you keep it hidden. But even if you hide a corpse, it's still dead. Do you really think you can heal my wounds by saying they'll always be watching over me from the clouds, like some kind of fairy tale? I'm Angie Beatrice, a witch of truth. I'll free myself from that life as a ghost, waiting for a miracle that'll never happen. All in my life is a noble martyr who's reached the truth. Did you once come to understand the power of magic through Maria's grimoire? Yeah, I understood it, and then I despaired when I realized how powerless it was. And that's what Oni-chan is trying to force me to use now, isn't it? If I believe, if I use magic, then my family will always be by my side. Don't take me for a fool. You think that kind of magic, an illusion, a daydream, can heal those 12 years? And how am I supposed to go on for decades and decades into the future? Someone come back to me, someone. But no one's coming back. So at least tell me what happened that day. Brenn said she'd tell me. My master, I have the book with a single truth. I'll take it back to you, so give me the truth. For so long I've been prepared to throw away my naive hopes for a miracle. Now tell me the truth of that day. A blinding light poured out of the chapel. It seeped from the windows and the cracks of the door, even reaching as far as Battler and Erica's eyes. What? It seems Comrade Angie has completed her task. It looks like you've set up some pathetic seal, but to my master, that'll be easier than thawing frozen soury fish. Damn. Master said I could play with you until Angie finished her task. I've had enough fun from this reunion, so I think it's time for me to leave. Erica gave an elegant curtsy. Why did you talk Angie into looking for the single truth? Your master must know. That truth doesn't mean anything to Angie. Yes, all truths in this world are meaningless. In the end, meaning comes from the mind of each individual human. Even when there is a single truth, it can mean many different things to different people. The truth has no meaning in itself. There's just one reason why I'm still stuck in the truth despite it all. Because you're the detective. Good. But Angie-san isn't the detective. To her, the truth itself is the finish line. A way to mark the end of her unhappy life. Now she's finally finished the final purification ceremony. She's a one-night witch of truth focused on learning a certain single truth before she dies. A temporary witch for the short time until she slams against the ground. I won't let Angie die. No matter how tough it gets, she has to live. And that's the only thing all of us want. If she lives, all sorts of magic and miracles will be possible. If only you had put her arm around her shoulder and told her that directly, you might not have lost. What do you think? Just by hearing you howl, this level of reasoning is possible for Furura Erica. Live, Angie. He yelled towards the chapel, but Angie probably wasn't even there anymore. Balor's yell was swallowed by the empty pitch-black sky and the sea of rampaging goats. Oh yeah, the goats are still there. Comrade Ava, our mission is complete. Let's withdraw. Why is she calling everyone comrade all of a sudden? Let's see what's going on there. Yeah, I guess so. Dolce Ava. Fair enough. I don't think she's used that language before. Well, because she's never cooperated with anyone before. Oh, are we done already? I was just about to tear the island apart with my own Ava culprit theory. Ava appeared in midair and cackled. Sorry, Battler Gooden, that I wasn't strong enough. For 12 years, I protected that kid in my own way. I'm grateful. However, she's decided this for herself. She's 18 years old now. Don't you think people should decide how they live their own lives? Sorry for being a doting big brother. Later. I'm Lady Brenn-Castell's piece at the moment. It's time for me to go. I'll see you later, Comrade Ava. Ava held her palm open, and a small, pointy blue fragment appeared there. The fragment burst, and with a blinding flash of light, Ava vanished. It was the same light that had seeped out of the chapel earlier. Pieces cannot leave the game board. However, the Voyager witches alone could come and go. This was probably some sort of magic that Brenn-Castell had given them. Erica opened her palm as well, and the same sort of fragment appeared there. That's enough for now, I think. Who knows? This might be the last time we meet. Wait, we haven't settled our fight yet. If he could steal the fragment in Erica's hand, he would be able to go to where Brenn-Castell is. I think Mecha Beach is probably one of the side novels. She's probably in Tsubasa. We'll get to all those. The seal surrounding the book with a single truth would probably be melted easily with Brenn-Castell's power. However, even so, it would take her some time. If he could steal that fragment, he would have a chance at bringing Angie back. What is there to settle? Time's up. However, if you feel like taking one last hit, I'd be happy to oblige. Balor had known that Erica wouldn't be able to resist the challenge. After all, he already knew what her trick was. He'd figured it out just a second ago. Even when he spoke with Erica, he'd been thinking about it inside his mind. he could finish her with his last strike and take the fragment. Let's go, Erica. This will decide it. This clash will be the last before I go, so go ahead and give me the craziest of your hilarious theories. Your closed room definition stated that the walls, windows, floor, ceiling, chain were all unbeatable. However, there was one possibility that I didn't check because I knew it was too ridiculous. And that was whether or not the chain could be set from the outside. Full of truth. This is the answer to your closed room. The length of the chain. The chain for your closed room was extra long, so it was possible to set and unset it from outside the room. What a ridiculous answer. However, if you blindly assume that a lock made by an unbreakable chain makes a closed room unbeatable, then this truly would be a perfect closed room. And if it's that long, you can just open the door and go in, regardless of whether the chain's set or not. The blue wedge flung from Battler's hand plunged straight into Erica's chest. As she winced in pain, her hand shook, and the fragment she held flew into the air. Your closed room definition stated that the walls, window, floor, door, and chain were all unbeatable. However, there wasn't one really ridiculous thing missing. What wasn't there? Well, he sees the chain there, right? In this whole thing with Erica, they're having like a hypothetical battle where they don't get to examine the room. They're essentially playing Blue Truth, Red Truth Battleship. They're just guessing off of stuff until they narrow down the possibility. They can't observe anything. Blue Truth. Your closed room had no ceiling, so it was possible to enter by climbing over the wall. Erica's blue sight shone out from behind her back. Shady try last closed room. Catching Battler in the side as he stretched his hand out towards the fragment. World of Goo 2 has an achievement that you get for deleting 100% save file. Wow. That's just mean. In order to finish the game, you have to throw it all away. Battler's hand didn't reach it. The fragment returned to Erica's hands once more. It looks like our tricks were equally ridiculous. The mystery nuts would have been furious, don't you think? But I disagree. To me, the process of exposing the ridiculousness is ecstasy. That's why I'm footed Erica, the detective. You'd have to check out, like, Will's thing, probably in the manga, because it's more clear in there, and get confirmation about what the intended solution is supposed to be for that. I don't know all of them offhand. I don't really know many of them at all offhand. There's a lot to Umineko. By the time I get through, like, my brain is fried, and I can barely tell, like, which trick was used in which episode. Not true. I thought it up between the time you let loose your Blue Truth and the time you stretched your hand out to grab the fragment. I've just been buying time since the beginning. I only started reasoning a second ago. The intended solution is that they literally just lied about the chain being set. Yeah, not really too surprised. There were a lot of allusions to illusions solutions there. Erica broke the crystal barrier that surrounded them. Then she flew high up into the sky, looking down at Battler and laughing at him as she gave a final bow. So long, Battler-san. Even if this has been my only time to shine, even if I've outlived my usefulness and I'm about to be thrown back into the depths of oblivion, even so, I have no regrets. But wait. Like she'd actually wait just because I told her to. With a blinding flash, Erica vanished. Angie had retrieved the Book of the Single Truth and returned to Baron Castell. Battler and the others had no way to leave the game board. Everything had come to an end. I mean, Umineko is a lot more than just clever solutions to every single locked room. It's a deconstruction. A gold butterfly floated by and Beato appeared. My apologies, Battler. I let Angie get away. I'm sorry too. We've let them escape. It's all over. Battler had created this game for Angie. Now that Angie was gone, the game board no longer had any purpose. And even if that hadn't been the case, the game board itself had been chewed to bits by the goats. It was now like a single leaf floating in a sea of nothingness. Staircase looks okay. Study looks okay. Oh, yeah. Thanks to Gertrude and Cornelius' seals, the mansion was protected from the second floor up. The door to the Golden Lane was now open wide enough for a child to slip through. The smaller people, like Maria and Sakataro, went through it. My friend, I believe the door is opening at a quicker pace. Indeed. To my eyes as well, it seems to be so. But father, is the door open yet? It looks like they're about to break in through the windows. Cross, well, there is no need for you to fear. An hard-made barrier is not so easily broken. Very soon, it'll be big enough for adults to go through too. Don't worry, we'll make it in time. But there's knocking and banging everywhere, and... Stay calm and wait. After all, there is nothing else we can do. Even the outer walls of the mansion were covered with goats, and they were plunging their fangs and fists into the walls and windows, trying to crush them. So, anyone watching the goats stuck to all the walls and all the windows in the hallway, smashing their thick arms against the windows, couldn't help but be terrified, even if they knew about the barrier. However, anyone watching the group of goats gather at the top of the big staircase on the other side of the barrier would probably feel a different emotion. Rather than terror, it was a sad, empty sort of emotion. The barrier was drawn across the landing at the top of the hall's great staircase. Beyond that barrier, everything had already been eaten away. Was it even possible for those who stood in the hallway of the upper floors to believe that this was the Rokkenjima mansion? By now, no one looking at this scene would be able to imagine such a thing. Forget the hall or even the whole first floor. Even the ground itself was almost gone. The sea of goats had eaten everything apart long before this. They had eaten apart the hall, the pillars of the mansion, the floor, the ground, the sea, the very concept of the island. Every part of the game board Battle had created. And now, the only leftover was the upper part of the mansion, which floated along an empty space. How pitiful. To what do you refer? The goats, in their eagerness to chew the island apart, have eaten up even the ground they stood on, dropping themselves into nothingness. This had once been a huge entrance hall. Beyond it had been a vast rose garden. There had been so many places to stand upon. However, now, holes had been dug everywhere, and nearly everything outside the mansion was completely gone. Some goats were clutching to the few remaining footholds and pillars, still eating away at them. Let it be known that exposing the truth is murder. Why can't humans live without killing, I wonder? Throughout their long history, so many have prayed for miracles, but in the end, they eat up their own chances at receiving them, eating up the very ground they stand on and falling into the abyss. They saw a goat chewing the same pillar that was holding it up, which, unsurprisingly, fell into empty blackness along with the goat. Humans are sad creatures, fated to live in order to learn. If learning means eating away the same hopes and dreams that keep you alive, that would mean humans are born just so they can die. We're taught that we have to live. However, almost everything that we accomplish in life ends up killing us. Don't think about it. You'll just get a headache. As a single human, I want to ask, is learning a sin? Is living in ignorance the only way we can have hopes and dreams? Both living with knowledge and living in ignorance have their benefits, as well as their shortcomings. You're even free to choose which path you take. That's what makes humans powerless. While people can learn, they cannot unlearn. And so, the all-knowing God has stepped in for the sake of humans who cannot unlearn, marking out things that should be learned and things that should not be learned. I am but a simple ogre who does not understand complex themes. Too much curiosity can kill your hopes and dreams. Curiosity kills the cat box. Are you gonna behave this time, honey? You're not gonna knock over my Ultra Rosa, are you? Here's, here, I'll show it off again. Okay, well, it's gonna be backwards, but just trust me that if you can read it backwards, that this is Ultra Rosa. So it's the special limited time Umineko monster. You are once again going to the one place I told you to not go to on this desk. Get out. Go. Incorrigible cat. Humans are pitiable beings who are unable to simply avoid those things which should not be learned. Lord Battler can hardly be blamed for failing to teach Angie this. No, come on. Go back up here right now. Now Angie's gone. This game is over. Struck dumb by Will's words, everyone fell silent. Okay, you know what? Come on. Out. Go. I'm shutting the door to my room. This is probably gonna backfire. She's probably just gonna scratch at the door, but I'm gonna try it. I don't shut my door much anymore nowadays, but... Alright. Only the sound of the goats eating everything away rang out hollowly. Even if they escaped to the Golden Land, the goats of emptiness would probably chew into that realm as well. Even if they got away for the time being, nothing would be resolved. It was all set in stone now. They had no way to resist the future's violent attempts to tear the catbox of the past open. By the way, I bought a game in the Steam sale I might stream. I'll link it in chat. It is currently Japanese only, so I will be doing a live translation of it. It might be fun. It's basically Danganronpa, but with magical girls and witches. I saw it recommended online by a Japanese person on Twitter. And it's like, oh, hey, might be cool. So I grabbed it. I guess there's going to be a translation in the future. Oh, you recommended this one too? Oh shit. Whoops. I did the thing where I ignored someone's recommendation. Then like it has to come to me at the right time, which is apparently when I'm in bed waking up browsing on my phone. Well, not one on Steam at least, no official one yet. Well, it says it has Chinese, yes, but English isn't supported yet. Someone in the discussion forums said that it was going to be coming in the future. There was like a partial fan patch or something, but they stopped work on it because there was going to be an official translation. But it's more fun if I play it in Japanese anyway. Perhaps. Anyway. Umineko. In that case, we must stay alive. If a human's foolishness makes them throw away their own hopes and dreams in the end, then I want to believe in those things until the last second. Your resolve is impressive. I'm the one hope held by Beatrice's of a million worlds. I can't read, God. Speech therapy or something. I actually wore my false teeth again yesterday. I'm gonna try to get used to them, but I don't have them in right now because I've got like a canker sore. So, I don't know if I can wear them today, but I'm not ready to wear them while I stream anyway. No, you should really play Danganronpa. Danganronpa's good. Danganronpa's top tier. I'm a Danganronpa fan. Play Danganronpa. I'm really looking forward to the new one. Danganronpa 2 was kind of my favorite Danganronpa. At least, well, there were some aspects of it that was my favorite. B3 also did some really cool stuff that kind of beats it out, but I'll say this, 2 had my favorite cast, easily. So I'm happy to be able to revisit them. I should finish JTD, I know. Once I finish Umineko, who knows what I'll do. Maybe I'll do that. I'll probably go back to Silksong to finish that, though. If anything. I'm not giving up on this game yet. I wish I could have the same attitude. By which you mean, I'll keep waiting, believing in a miracle until the last second. So you'll keep struggling on and on until it's all over? That's right. After all, last time, when we were surrounded by that pack of terrifying cats, we were prepared for death, weren't we? And the Delta-san saved us. If we had given up, then I'm sure we would have been erased before help would come. Well, it's not like I really saved you. More like Byrne just failed to kill you properly. Or it might have been some whim of hers. Oh, okay, it's Will talking here. A miraculous whim from the Witch of Miracles. Wait, no, it is Lambda Delta. Okay, I guess she means this might have been a whim of Byrne Castell's, not a whim of hers. I wasn't sure who this was for a second. How long had she been there? Lambda Delta was leaning on the handrail of the staircase, eating popcorn. She held a cup of popcorn out, but Leon declined the offer. Balricon told us. He said Angie-chan made a contract by which she would learn the truth in exchange for her own life. Going by your conversation just now, that was no contract. After all, living and seeking the truth so they can die is what humans do anyway, right? In other words, Angie spent all her life trying to learn the truth. All Byrne did was shorten that time to a single instant. When Angie-chan lost her hopes and dreams, she stopped valuing her own life. How can she be given hopes and dreams again? I'm already hearing scratching at the door. What can be done to help her find a reason for living? Undertale? Deltarune? Just... they released too late. Too late for Angie. Are you asking me? I'm paper, right? Doubles twisted, curly super paper. I don't understand complicated stuff. After tossing the last bits of popcorn into her mouth, Linda threw the empty cup into the abyss of nothingness. Burton wasn't really pushing that kid to do something she didn't want. She was giving Angie a chance. Or should I call it a choice? Then Angie made the choice she wanted, appeared on the game board, and now, in her game against Battler, she's making her own choices again. From start to finish, Angie's game has always belonged to Angie. Right now, I'm just a casual observer. So, not a particularly enthusiastic observer. Maybe. It's a play with an obvious ending. So I decided I might as well take my leave. You mean you'll stop watching a play just because you think you know how it'll end? Even though it might reach a climax you didn't expect? And then Elda licked her salty fingers. Then she stared at Leon challengingly and grinned. I know that Angie's game won't end this way. Yeah, I do remember you recommending Trick Logic. That sounds familiar, at least. I know the Ballerkun's feelings will reach her. She'll understand that he wants her to live in a better future, and she'll choose that future of her own accord. I'm certain that's how the sale will end. Eh? Are you talking to me, the Witch of Certainty, and saying that the outcome is certain? That's right. I guarantee it. Angie-chan's game won't end like this. So please, don't leave your seat. We won't leave either. There must be something we can do. And that will surely lead to a better future. Oh, lead her to a better future. This tale will definitely have a happy ending. So keep watching until the end, I beg you. Even though I've already announced as the Witch of Certainty that this tale won't have a happy ending. The definition of a happy ending is something that everyone watching gets to decide for themselves, right? For a while there was a tense silence. The confident gaze that seemed to be saying, "Are you serious?" And the Delta stared at Leon. However, Leon's eyes didn't even twitch. For some time, they both stared into the other's eyes without flinching. Huh. Suddenly, Linda Delta let out a large sigh and stretched. Well, I have nowhere better to be. Sure, I'll stick around a bit longer. If you get me some more popcorn, that is. I'm feeling like caramel flavor this time. Do they happen to have popcorn on the second flavor, like in Kinzo's study? If you come to the Golden Land, we'll serve you as much as you like. And the Delta waved at them with a thin smile. No one was quite sure what this meant, but it apparently signified her surrender on her own way. Okay, if you'll guarantee your own flavor a happy ending with certainty. Then I, the Great Lambda Delta, will stick around for a while longer. See how big my heart is? As wide as Lake Biwa. That's pretty thin, actually. And as gentle as the Sea of Japan. That is a very rough sea. I'm gonna open the door back up. The cat wants to leave, so I might as well just leave it open. They were very confused to see the door shut. Well, please, allow us to speak. It would seem she meant it the other way around. There was some muffled laughter. And the Delta is the witch who gives strength to those who possess unshakable willpower. Leon believed in a happy ending, and that certain enthusiasm might have been enough to earn a small miracle from Lambda. You better not let me get bored, okay? If you do, I'll leave right away. Of course. I'm sure Ballerkun will be glad to welcome you as well. Leon understood. In order to fight back against Bernkastel, who had taken Angie outside the board, they would need the power of another who was capable of leaving the board. Their last hope was to make sure Lambda Delta didn't abandon this game. However, judging by Lambda Delta's expression as she hummed to herself cheerily, actually asking for help was probably going to be a problem. Look, Zephyr, everything from the first floor down is gone. What a spectacle. Not a sight you see every day. However, matters progressed upstairs. Ah, right, we came here to tell you that. Hey everyone, sorry to keep you waiting. They say the door to the Golden Land is opened. It was that easy. Finally, let us go. This place will not be safe for long. Everyone who had been sitting on the staircase got up. I guess this is goodbye, Rakenjin the Beautiful. True, it may be a shadow of its former self, but this is the last time we'll see it, isn't it? What's with that gloomy attitude? Come on, show me, okay? Let's see a happy ending. Let me check on the wiki again here. Let's see. So I'm currently at... Okay, I see where I am, I think. Okay. Probably? I think so, yeah. I think I see where I am. Okay. I'm just trying to keep track, roughly, so I can space things out just right. Okay. The Book of the Single Truth was sealed in crystal by Battler. Until the seal isn't done, I can't even stick the key in the keyhole. You can remove this, right? Of course. They were in a vast, dimly lit space. To sum it up in a phrase, it was like a trench in the ocean floor. No, that's not quite right. It was a library. However, the number of books in the height of the shelves vastly surpassed all of those that existed in the world of humans. If height is the measure of greatness, then the gods must surely be giants taller than mountains. This place appeared to be a library big enough and grand enough for such gods. Each individual book was no larger than those from the human world. However, the shelves holding them stood like the walls of a valley, or rather a deep-sea ocean trench. So, Angie and the others looked like little more than a few small butterflies who had wandered into this vast library. Like minuscule, deep-sea fish swimming about all alone in an ocean pit. Still learning how to talk. This is more like ice than a seal. If you just steal it away from battle and put it under the rays of the sun, it'll fade away by itself as time passes. Isn't this some way to just smash it open? You thought you were frozen fish by smashing it with a hammer? Sorry, I was always terrible in cooking class. Kitties, thaw this seal. Yes, Bernkastel has cats. When Bernkastel whispered, from the dark ocean pit deep below them, several emerald green glints appeared and gathered like a school of fish. Bernkastel threw the Book of the Single Truth down to them, and only after several seconds passed, the school of fish seemed to gather around it and carry it away. Those few seconds made it clear just how deep this bookshelf trench went. Angie was once again dumbfounded by this unimaginably vast and godly library. We can just let them handle the rest. And you really will let me see what's inside. If that is your wish, I'll grant it. And of course, I won't be able to read it myself without that key of yours. Angie silently gripped the golden key in her pocket. I wasn't the one who named the cat. Someone else named her. Hence why she's named Nyx, and I'm not going to rename her. It's already your name. This journey has been so long and so strange. In the search for the truth from 12 years ago, I left my home, met President Oganogi, met Amakusa, and at some point, that adventure became wrapped in the illusion of the witch. But having a cat just named Burn for short wouldn't be terrible. It's not a bad idea. However, here I am. Ushimiya Eba's diary is here. The truth inside it is sitting right before me. Rest for a while. Even I don't have enough free time to spend it all with you. Well, I'm not really tired. Erica, serve Angie some tea or something. Put sleeping pills in it. Yes, my master. Erica popped into existence out of nowhere and bowed to her master. Bernkastel, if you're planning to use me to steal both the key and the book, you won't get off easy. How dare you say such a thing to my master? Sorry, after my long experience with witches, I've decided not to trust normal words. Very well. I'll promise it with the red truth. When the seal on the Book of the Single Truth is dissolved, you, Angie, will be the first to read it. Is that good enough for you? For some time, Angie considered the witch's words, searching for some sort of trap hidden within them. There's no guarantee greater than a witch's red truth. Angie understood this well enough. If she started to doubt even this red truth, there would be nothing left to trust in this entire world. If she began to suspect even this, then even the truth would no longer be truth. Is there something more you want? No, I'm fine. If she wanted to read the Book of the Single Truth, she would need Bernkastel's assistance. Angie finally realized that she had nothing to gain by complaining more and annoying this witch further. Once you've dissolved the barrier, call me right away. Of course, I also want to read it as soon as possible. I'll call for you at once. Bernkastel wants to read spoilers. Bern spun away from them, then vanished into the dark bookshelf trench. Angie saw a school of emerald green fish appear and follow behind Bernkastel. Could this be her familiars? As she stared at the emerald lights that resembled some sort of deep-sea fish, Angie was poked from behind. Let's go, Comrade Angie. You're creeping me out, so please just call me Angie. Then you can call me Erica-sama. Let's get going, Comrade Erica. The bear began to swim in the direction Erica indicated. Whim seemed a better word for it than fly. Just what is this place? It's way too big to be called a library. It's not like you'll be able to remember its name, so why not just call it the library? I'll decide what I can or can't remember. Tell me. It's the great witch of theater-going, drama, and spectating's noble city of carefully selected books. Yeah, the library works fine. Knew you'd say that. The City of Books. Yeah, the name fits. The bookshelves on either side of this canyon are skyscrapers. If you think of those emerald green lights flowing beneath us as headlights on a highway, this really does seem like a city of books. These aren't normal books, are they? That's right. Each volume is packed with an ensemble play. They look like books from here, but if you open one up, you'll find a whole world inside. So even our long tale is only one of these. Great witches who live in a far, far higher plane than we do are hardly any different from Creator or God. From their perspective, our little tale is worth little more than a single book, if it's even worth that. From a theater-goer's perspective, our individual lives are hardly worth anything at all. If they're recording an entire world in a single volume, then my life probably isn't even worth a single line. But we're the main characters. I am, and so are you. That's right. Even if the Tale of the Gods doesn't mention us, we're always the main characters in the stories we write for ourselves. Becoming aware of that fact is the first thing that separates witches from humans. They were on a balcony, which was really a room-sized section that had been dug out of the bookshelf with no guardrail along the cliff. It didn't go in very deep, so it looked like a room that had been cut in half. It was filled with the tools of everyday life, as though this was Eriko's hidden house. It would have been cool to see this animated properly. Oh hey, look! In the background, there's statues. I see Beatrice on the right. Maybe it looks kind of like Beatrice. It looks like Kinzo on the left. That can't be right, though, if this is just a library that has nothing to do with Umineko itself. So, I guess they're supposed to just be other people. This is probably like an edited photo from an actual place, after all. Just heavily distorted. It is kind of funny that they do kind of, in my opinion, look like Kinzo and Beatrice. I'm sure they're not, though. My master has ordered me to serve you some tea. So if you don't feel like drinking, I'll have to pour it into you with a funnel. If you try, I'll have to serve you some matcha. Matcha? Nothing, just talking to myself. Ignoring Eric as she made tea, Angie looked down upon the bizarre, otherworldly scene below. Until Erica finished getting the tea ready, the scene held Angie's gaze like it was sucking out her soul. This might sound strange coming from me. What? You actually made a deal to throw away your life to learn the truth, huh? That's impressive. I had nothing to gain from life. It was easy for me to trade away the time I had left. My master really does take to idle whims. To think she would make a contract for the meaningless life of a powerless girl. Angie chuckled, not bothering to argue. That was exactly right. Incredible that Bernca's would lend her power to a worthless life that was trying to throw itself away. Well, my master is the witch who controls miracles, so it makes sense that she'd appear even for a worthless girl like you. Good point. Even if Bernca hadn't appeared, I still would have taken that step off the edge that day. You really are a cheap and easy woman, aren't you? Well then, just how much are you worth? Me? The way Erica cackled was disturbing. Still, Angie realized that this was her way of answering the question. People don't become witches of their own choosing. If they're capable of living, all people want to live their lives as humans. When something comes along to trip up that life, that's when the road to living as a witch opens. Even Footer Erica, who calls herself the Witch of Truth, must be like this. The two witches of truth, sitting here drinking tea without even looking at each other, are exactly the same. I like exposing the truth. I know that. I like exposing secrets than watching those people turn pale as they wonder how I figured it out. That's when I know I've reached the truth, and it's a moment of ecstasy. There's something seriously wrong with you. Well then, what does the truth mean to you? Angie was about to give me an immediate answer, but she bit back her words. Then she gulped, not knowing how to respond. After all, to Angie, the truth itself was the goal. At first, it was out of hatred. Could Ushime Eva, the sole survivor of Rakenjima, be the culprit behind everything? She hated Eva, but she had no proof that her aunt was the culprit. And of course, Eva never talked about what happened on that island. So at first, the truth meant proof that Ava was the culprit in Anji's eyes. However, that feeling withered away with Ava's death. Now that Ava was dead, even if Anji did find some kind of proof, it wouldn't mean anything. So eventually, the truth Anji wanted to find became nothing more than a simple desire to know what happened on the island that day. However, one thing was obvious. Even if she did find out the truth, that wouldn't bring any of her family back to her. It might not mean anything at all. You're going to expose the truth your beloved Oni-chan is hiding, even though it's meaningless? You're the one who's not making sense. Erika laughed mockingly. Angie laughed too, as though she agreed. And so, my own truth became my goal. Maybe you could even call it my reason for living. So, once you do reach the truth, there won't be any point or purpose to you living anymore, right? That's right. So, I'll die. Hasn't it been long enough? I've already lived 12 years too long. Don't I at least deserve to have a witch appear and grant my wish in my final moments? Or to put it simply, you're just tired of life. Does that sum it up? Yeah. So both my reason for living and my very existence are completely meaningless. That's why this goal of finding the book of the single truth has put a little sparkle back into my life now that it's nearly over. At least on that score, I'm grateful to Brun Castell. I see. Valor wants you to live, so we hit the goal line that would lead you to death. I think I pity Valor-san for the first time. After all, you can't choose your little sister. Sorry, Oni-chan. I'm tired of life. For 12 whole years, I've been living off nothing but the illusion that someone might come home someday. Just let me find peace already. Finding the truth of that day is how I've chosen to mark the end of my life. For 12 years, I believed in a miracle, but there was no miracle. I won't believe in miracles anymore. The book of the single truth, huh? Of course, I'm also dying to find out what's in it, but from what I hear, it doesn't sound like the truth inside is something spectacular enough to mark the end of your life with. Yeah, at first I hoped there would be something earth-shattering in it, but now I've calmed down, I guess you could say. Any truth searched for by a worthless person is bound to be worthless. It'll probably make for a fitting end to your worthless life. Yeah, I'm sure it will. Angie was already starting to realize something. Regardless of Ava's reason for staying silent, the real events of that day probably weren't anything earth-shattering. Some sort of malfunction made the bomb in that secret underground base explode. Yes, it was just an accident. But the public already believed that some sort of conspiracy surrounded the events of that day, so that's what they expected. Ava was a suspect herself, so of course no one would believe her claim that nothing strange happened. Naturally, Angie didn't believe her either. In that case, shutting up like a clam would be better than the alternative. It was hardly surprising that Ava chose to say nothing. Right now, I don't feel any sense of accomplishment. I just feel sort of worn out and listless. Being able to withstand the truth is what makes someone a witch of truth. Comrade Anchi, it looks like you don't possess that strength after all. If you did, you wouldn't be thinking about dying. You're right. I've dreamed that someone might come back for 12 years. I've just used Beatrice's cat box to shut away the truth, denying it for all that time. When you read the book of the single truth, I wonder what'll happen to you. Who knows? Won't Brun Castell carry out the contract by slicing my head off with a scythe or something? Or will I be turned into chunks of meat again? Maybe I'll get some salt and pepper this time. Well done, Angie. I see, so that's where the chunks of meat thing came from. Did you say something? Nope, nothing at all. Anyway, would you like some more tea? No, thank you. Angie listlessly gazed down from the balcony with no handrail. Down into the darkness of the abyss at the bottom of the bookshelf ravine. No, the gap between the bookshelf skyscrapers. From the beginning until the end of my journey, I haven't taken a single step away from this spot. This journey of mine, not even a single step long, will end soon. Wow, skyscrapers. It's symbolic. What are those lines of lights rolling around at the bottom? Oh, those? Probably a group of guests coming to the great Lady Aurora's party. Guests? Let's see here. I think I want to keep it fairly short today. So I might end here. I should probably go a little bit longer, honestly. Yeah, I'll do one more song's worth. I'm just keeping a close tab on things so I can end on October 5th. Great witches from the Senate, Voyager witches who are trying to escape boredom in their endless travels, powerful witches who have woken from century-long sleeps, as well as witches who control the future world and noble witch hunters. It seems she's planning to hold a grand party tonight. Wait, is it a birthday party or something? From what I've heard, while the great Lady Beatrice, the Endless Witch, is an outsider among witches, she's also the genius who created Beatrice's cat box out of her formidable magic compendium, an endless bacteria capable of producing endless tales. From my point of view, she's just stupid and a weak finisher, but in the world of great witches, she's apparently pretty famous. So this is Beatrice's birthday party? My master says she'll be holding a dinner party with Beatrice's guts. After all, it's only natural, right? The cat box was only able to generate infinite tales because there was no single truth. However, tonight, the single truth will be revealed thanks to your key. That means the cat box will be opened. Really, it's no different from slicing open her chest as she still lives and tearing out what's inside. Everyone in that huge crowd that looks like a packed freeway is going to one dinner party? I'm not sure what's stronger, my shock at how famous Beatrice is, or my revulsion at those sleazebags. For you, the Book of the Single Truth is nothing more than an end. However, for all those enjoying the mystery of Rokenjima, this is an event that can't be missed. I see. So that's a crowd of those goats who are chewing on each end's game board apart. Angie's analogy was an accurate one. The crowd far, far below them was made up of nobles wearing beautiful outfits and goat masks. They were all so intent on tearing the guts out of Beatrice's cat box that they couldn't even hide the drool trickling from their mouths. Those gluttonous goat nobles who derive pleasure from the violence of its... the violin? Is that... I think that's supposed to say violence. Probably. The violence of exposing the truth. We're in a line of cars. The line of cars heading towards the meeting place. Okay. Looks like this is the end for Beatrice in the cat box. Beato and the others have holed up in the Golden Land, the last remnants of the game board. Valor and Beato have strengthened their defenses and have destroyed the first wave, but they won't be able to stop the second. My master has given me an armada capable of destroying the very concept of defensive measures. You see why I have to stop soon? I can't talk today. My lips are too damn dry. I gotta fix this. The Golden Land's ramparts are as good as gone. Those goats who appeared all over the island, they're the personification of random opinions in the future, and all of them want this island's tale to be a tragedy. That's right, those goats keep getting born from the sea of the internet. That first wave was just the riffraff. The second wave will be entirely different. It's made up of the best, elite goats selected from the crowd that are capable of denying all the cowering pieces one by one. All of them are YouTube essayists. In total, they number in the hundreds of thousands. 100,000 people to deny the existence of a few dozen hiding on an island. Okay, there probably aren't that many Umineko YouTube essays. And maybe they're Reddit posters. Elite Reddit posters. Looks like this is it for Oni-chan too. Are you sure you're ready? You understand that Ushimi Battler died in 1986, and that this man is an illusion created by the cat box? Yeah, I understand. Regardless of whether he's my real brother or an illusion, regardless of whether he's who I'd like him to be or not, the Battler who created this game board for my sake will die. No, I'm just going to accept the fact that he already was dead, so it's not like he's actually going to die. Angie thought to herself, shouldn't performing her brother's last rites be her responsibility? This was her final trial with... making up words, which she had assigned to herself. All of those people down on the game board were the personification of Angie's naivety. By denying the existence of all of them, wouldn't she finally be able to accept the truth? No, that's not right. I'm not being honest, even with myself. That bizarre Halloween party may have been an illusion, but that didn't make it any less heartwarming. Oni-chan said it himself. True, that Halloween party may have been an illusion. However, he was trying to use that party to tell me something. About that second wave. My master has appointed me to be their commander. Leave it to me, Angie-san. My master isn't so malicious that she'd make you dirty your own hands. Yes, that might be kind of her. These are my lingering attachments we're talking about. I should be grateful to Bryn Castell. If she really were cruel, she would probably have ordered me to take charge of the second wave and execute my own family. I'm right, Angie. You're a witch of truth, aren't you? That's right. Probably. Then accept the truth, okay? Finally, after 12 years, the single truth lies before you. I'll just sit around here until Bryn Castell breaks the seal. You'll probably be summoned as a guest for the party. You've got a mirror, so maybe you should wipe the sleep from your eyes. And maybe you should shave before heading out to battle. No, she's not saying Nakama, she's saying Doshi. She's saying like Dolce Angie. I checked earlier because I thought it was kind of weird too. I don't know the history behind the word. But if memory serves, it was this. It floated there in the empty air. The door to the Golden Land. At its base, there was nothing except some poor tiling about as thick as a rug, so it was fairly hard to imagine that this was Ginzo's study. By this point, all the game board except the Golden Land had been eaten away, leaving only this door floating in a sea of nothingness. Cohorts. Okay. There were two shapes in front of that door. They were Battler and Beato. Okay, this is probably a good place to stop. A bit short today. I got a late start because I slept in a lot. Ugh. I got some stuff I have to finish up today so I can start some other stuff tomorrow. There are many games in which I should finish. Okay.